You can hear me good?
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Creators Outlet. I'd like to welcome back our old, well, not too old friend, Connor Bartel.
How you guys doing?
Streaming to us from the Wayne Manor Library. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much, just on that Kickstarter grind again.
I know it's the third part of the big trilogy.
Yeah, it's our 6th Kickstarter, but 3rd in this series.
And I know this because I'm not just a promoter, I'm a client.
Yay!
Get the sketchbook edition. It's worth it. And
Thank you.
I thought it was cool because to save on some of your shipping costs out of Alaska, you use this company down in Florida that was print on demand.
Yeah, and they handle the printing and shipping.
Yeah, and I mean they came in, they're perfect. I even got a mini print on the back of one of the issues, which is just, it's done a little different than the cover, but it's the same image, just a little darker.
Yeah, that's actually the regular cover, and the what you have is the sketchbook edition cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's the story's been great so far. I really like it because Eddie's got the he's got that funky Japanese brush thing going on, and he's fast because we spoke about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the
CromCon.
That's the one I'm trying to think of. I'm like,
yeah,
my mind just going blank.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like streaming for 30 hours. That was crazy.
Yeah. I only went on for a half hour. I'm sure you guys had quite the gauntlet.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun meeting a lot of great creators, a lot of people that I knew and retouch base with, like you, and I get to watch Ada paint pretty much an entire portrait, like live on your segment too.
Yeah, he's fast and efficient. COVID has definitely been like slowing down the production of this book, which is why we have the estimated delivery date a little bit later than we usually do this campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also nothing. It's also still earlier than most people seem to have for theirs.
Now, how do you feel about wrapping this one up?
I feel very good. This is our 2nd series that we're wrapping up. It always feels like almost like we're graduating high school or something every time we finish it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really exciting to get the conclusion of the story out there because for me, I always like to hear what people think about the writing, obviously, because I'm the writer. But you don't get the full effect of that feeling until they read the entire story and understand what you were going for and stuff like that. So the end of the series is always really exciting for me as a writer.
Yeah, because when you send everything out, we get the PDF ahead of time when you buy the physical copy. You get the PDF, and a lot of people are like, yeah, that's cool, so I can reread it afterwards. But the first time I read it, I want to hold it in my hands and read it. And there's nothing like it. And the sketchbooks are only like a couple of dollars more than the regular physical copy, and you get like so much more with the script in the back going against like the original pencils of the unfinished inked work and everything.
And plus
really
just
cool.
random sketches from the sketchbook.
Yeah, and just like random thoughts with Ada.
Yeah, there was this one. I think it might have been in the first. It might have been in the Grimwood Crossing Special Edition, but it might have been in the first sketchbook of Swords and Solace. I'm not sure, but there's a picture of Batman sitting on the toilet, but the toilet, he's like riding the toilet like a motorcycle almost. And he actually drew that on the back of one of the original pages of Grimwood Crossing, and then we scanned it for the sketchbook edition. So yeah, you really do get just his random thoughts.
just random thoughts. It's like all cool stuff.
Yeah, and, he likes to doodle a lot. Of course, I feel like all artists do.
Oh yeah, I like to doodle, but I won't ever show anybody. It looks more like spirograph, but messier.
Yeah, I make a lot of. I do make a lot of art, but I only like publicly release like very few of it because there's only very few ones I actually end up liking at the end.
The only thing I could draw halfway decent when I was a kid was the old Colonial Vipers from the original Battlestar Galactica.
Ah, nice.
But only the side view.
Man, when I was a kid, I used to draw ninjas all the time. And my dad, he was a really good drawer too. And I'd ask him if he could draw me ninja, and he'd be like, "I can draw you an invisible ninja." And I didn't know it. I was a kid. I didn't know what invisible meant. I was like, "Cool." So then he drew like just the eye hole of the mask and just the eyes, and gave it to me and said it was an invisible ninja. He pulled that one a couple times.
Now, do you have anything in the future that you're working on?
I'm trying to put together my first webcomic right now. Facing a few challenges due to COVID and all, but after this Kickstarter, I'm gonna my next series, instead of going to Kickstarter right away, I'm gonna try and release like a page a week on a website, see how that goes. But this trilogy will be collected in like a trade paperback in the future, depending on how popular this one gets.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to take all your previous stuff and make it available as like an add-on to the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we saw excuse me. Our last book was a 200-page graphic novel about monster hunters in the Wild West. And so that one's called Grimwood Crossing. You can get that on this campaign too.
Yeah, that's a nice chunky read.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our first professional release that both of us ever did. And that's kind of why we started Swords of Sorrows, because Swords of Sorrows, the first of this current trilogy, was supposed to be a one-shot. And then Chuck had his way with it. The editor had his way with it. And we decided that it would be really interesting to do a sequel. But then I realized the only way to like really put this story to bed, it would take at least 2 more issues. So we decided to turn it into a trilogy.
Now, are you gonna keep with your love of the '90s black and white indie comics and just keep doing everything black and white, or are you gonna do some color stuff in the future?
I I do prefer black and white comics personally as a reader, and that has informed the type of comics I make. Um, but also, Grimwood Crossing and the Swords and Sorrows trilogy are both the type of stories that work in black and white and are better for being black and white. You know, Grimwood Crossing is like a pulpy Western based off like the classic Western movies, but adding in like Monster Hunter stories.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of the monsters are, you know, based off like classic iterations of monsters. You know, like the vampires kind of look like Nosferatu. You know what I mean? Instead of like, you know, sexy humanoid vampire or human like vampires. And the werewolves are like big and hairy, just like the Wolfman, you know, and so that really worked in black and white on like the Western and Monster Hunter front. And also Swords and Stars is based off of the classic Japanese cinema, you know, like Kira Kurosawa films. So that works in black and white. But the next one is it needs to be in color for story reasons. It's a diesel punk post-apocalyptic pirate story. And because of like lore reasons, the color of the water is like a vibrant green. So, and the story is called Green Water, so kind of has to be in color then, you know.
Yeah,
So
that
yeah,
makes sense.
I think my next book is going to be in color, and it's going to be my first color book.
Ooh, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at this Kickstarter. 107 backers.
So far, we still got 22 days to go.
22 days to go, and you are almost at goal. Currently, you're at 2743, 2,743 of a $3,000 goal.
Yep. We're pretty excited. We had a pretty solid launch. So we're just hoping to keep climbing from there.
Oh yeah, if you're hitting triple digits in backers, I think it's easy to say that this is popular enough already to look forward to a trade during your next book release.
Yeah, and we're excited to get the whole story into a trade too, because that's always exciting to get the nice, thick, meaty story, you know, like all in one book, and be able to read it as a whole.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, trades and graphic novels are about 65% of the market. So like the last, last 10 years at least. You know.
Yeah, and that's why Grimwood Crossing we split it into 2 trade paperbacks and made 2 Kickstarters, and then we did a third one to collect it all into one big omnibus.
I think a lot of the growing love for collected volumes, trades, or graphic novels comes a lot from, we now live in a binge society. We want to sit down and watch, you know, the entire season of a show when it gets released, and
you know, that is great, and it's especially important for that type of dynamic in comics, because in comics it's not like you're waiting week by week to get an hour of a story, or you're waiting week by week to get a half hour of a story. In comics, you're waiting a month to get like 22 pages, you know? So the being able to collect the whole series at once, whether it be like in 3 issues or in a trade paperback, is very exciting, you know, and for anyone. And so that's why we always look forward to, you know, these end of the campaigns, because we feel like there's a lot of people that come and wait for us to finish the series before backing. But now it's finished.
Now it's finished, and when people go to the Kickstarter, they can see right away that you love indie comics because you've backed like 71 campaigns.
Yeah, that's actually something I look for too. I'm not gonna say that people that don't back campaigns before making a Kickstarter are sleazy or slimy or scammy or anything. I'm definitely not gonna go that far, but seeing that they've never backed a campaign does kind of turn me off for a few reasons. The fact that they haven't backed any campaigns could mean a lot of different things. It could mean that they made a new profile. They have backed campaigns before, but they made a new profile for this.
Mm-hmm.
And while there's a bunch of innocent reasons for doing that, sometimes there's not so innocent reasons for making a new profile. And so like that kind of makes me worry, or it makes me worry that they just don't understand how Kickstarter works and that they haven't put skin in the game. So like they're not going to be able to like run an effective fulfillment of this campaign. So like seeing that people have backed Kickstarters before definitely makes me feel better about backing them.
Oh, for sure. And the link for Karna's Kickstarter is right in the chat. Don't forget, you have any questions, or you want to say, you want to just say hi or what have you, you can pop in down the bottom. Don't forget, we're also part of the NSC Roadshow, the podcast roadshow that tunes you into podcasts from all over the globe talking about indie comics. And, probably a bunch of other stuff, but, And this episode will be available for audio download from ageofradio.org after we finish the episode today. So you can re-listen to it in case you were like, did he say that? Really? I probably did.
Yeah, it's fun getting to meet all these different, like when we were doing CromCon, it's fun getting to meet all these different creators. Indie comics are so special because, there's a lot of variety in the different types of movies that you see coming out, of course, right? And everyone loves their big blockbuster things, but there's something about like the indie industry. But when it comes to like indie games or indie movies, they're usually like smaller scale things, like they're, like an indie film creator can't do big CGI, like can never make a big superhero movie, you know what I mean, with a bunch of CGI. And indie games aren't making these like AAA world or open worlds from, that are competing with big companies. But the thing about indie comics is, there's different factors that go into budgeting a comic, but what type of story it is doesn't really factor into what kind of budget it is, unless you're talking about length. Because I can make a small personal story about a couple falling in love, and 22 pages of that is going to cost just as much as 22 pages of a superhero comic, and
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, we have this like really interesting little indie community that's chock full of variety and scale, as opposed to like movies and films, where if you go to those indie communities, you're gonna only find like small auteur films and usually, or you're gonna only find like smaller scale games, and that's what's fun about indie comics. We're right up there with the big guys, maybe not in sales, but in scope and in passion and in story quality too.
Oh yeah. Hey, you're ready? The check is checking in. All over the world and wherever the hell Will is. I'm in Boston. Well, I'm south of Boston, but I'm close enough that I can almost throw a rock and hit it.
I'm in Alaska.
I can't hit that with a rock. And opposed to what kids think nowadays, you cannot see Alaska from Washington State.
You can't see Russia from Alaska either.
Nope.
Well,
no matter what that crazy woman that was running for vice president a few years ago said.
You know, she wasn't crazy before she ran for vice president. Then all of a sudden she ran for vice president and put on a Minnesota accent.
No, I'm pretty sure she was crazy before all that.
I mean, as a citizen of her governorship or whatever you want to put it, she definitely was not as crazy. But she didn't even have that accent. What?
It was toned down and everything because it was like, yeah, it's just Alaska, blah blah blah. And then they're like,
now you gotta be a meme character to make it in American politics.
You got to be the villain now, so it's like,
I know, like when's like, how come every single president that we elect, doesn't matter which side it is, they always have a super unique way of talking. They're always super impressed, or like you can make impressions of them much easier. Like we both you talk with a Boston accent, like I talk with like typical accent, you know. Not people, they do impressions of us, you're not going to immediately recognize who it is because it could be someone else. But when it comes to presidents, they're so unique in the way they speak. Even if you're bad at impressions, you can probably guess like what president that person is impersonating.
Yeah, I know. And some of them are just like, you know, wicked easy to do too.
Yeah, like Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
George W.
Yeah, he's got W. But yeah, in the world of in the American politics and everything falling apart, indie comics are still here.
Yep. It's better to dive in and get lost in comics than it is, you know, pay attention to the news nowadays.
Yeah. But,
so is this the sketch version we're looking at in the photo here?
That's the standard edition. If you scroll down, you'll be able to find the sketchbook edition. So that's just a fun image. Keep going.
That's rad, though. I like that.
So yeah, so here's just a regular edition. This is where we're talking about rewards. This is the whole trilogy right here, and then this is the sketchbook edition.
Oh, that's cool. I like the purple cover, but this is just red.
Yeah, I like to make the covers look like, you know, unfinished art. When it comes to the sketchbook edition, you know, really play up, you know, what's the sketchbook and what's regular. I keep trying to scroll through my Kickstarter on the video screen.
Yeah, I'm guilty of doing that myself. I'm like, oh, wrong tab. Damn it.
Yeah, I keep reaching up like over here to like do this and scroll up and down up with my finger, and then nothing moves. I'm like, oops.
So let's go through your pledge rewards. You can kick Connor $10 and pledge without a reward just because you like the project. You can pledge $5 and you can get the digital copy. $10, you get a physical copy and the digital. $12 or more, you get the digital trilogy. So you get all 3 PDFs of each book in this storyline. So you get the whole trilogy. $15 or more, you get my favorite, the sketchbook edition. Plus, of course, you get the digital copy. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I just got to read it, and I'll read the PDF. But when it comes in, I'm going to read it again because
I used to be like a strictly physical type of guy, but then I started to realize that I paid attention to the art more when I'm rereading the book. So what I like to do is if I don't want to wait, I will read through the story digitally, and I pay attention to the artwork less when it's on a screen for some reason. But then when I get the physical, I reread it, paying more attention to the art this time now that it's in my hands.
Oh yeah, and for some reason the ink that the company you use out of Florida, the print on demand service that you use down there, it's got like a certain scent off the paper because it's all like high end. You're using like all like high end paper, and the covers are fairly thick cardboard.
Yeah, so I've gone with a lot of different printers for different reasons in the past. I've done conventions and then selling to comic stores or just printing for Kickstarters, and I've had my difficulties with this company in the past, but they are still the best quality comic book printer that I can think of, especially one that also does fulfillment for you, like shipping.
Oh
They I've gone with like cheaper paper and books before with other companies and just did not like it, and it's nice to be able to like make an extra few dollars off a book, but it's also nice to give a product that you feel like someone's going to want to keep and not just read and then throw in a pile.
Yeah, you want something that people are gonna treasure, and when they get it, they're gonna be like, "Wow, this looks better than my $8.22 Wolverine issue."
And I like to make my comics with the intention of being the first comic ever read for someone. Being someone's first comic, I think should be a goal for everyone, every comic creator, because we're trying to grow this industry. We're trying to make comic books super popular and successful. And part of the reasons that make people love comic books for the characters, but then that's why they go to these movies, but they're not getting these comics because there's too much sunken cost into getting into a series. You go to the comic book store and no, you don't want to buy Amazing Spider-Man number 294 as for your first comic because it's number 294. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to make all my comics, I like to think, they're the perfect comic to be someone's first comic. They're good stories that don't have to be comic book stories. They're just good stories and amazing art that makes you take it seriously. And part of taking it seriously is also being a good physical product, because you're trying to convince someone to read this comic and you hand them this falling apart scratchy magazine with crappy printing and bad quality, and they're immediately more turned off. Mm-hmm. But if you give someone this product here's nice thick paper, not too thick, good quality printing, glossy paper, good stitching, it's a complete story. If you start here, you're not going to be lost. And you don't have to be a comic book fan to like these stories. They're, everyone likes monster hunters, everyone likes cowboys, everyone likes samurais, so, and I just like to take those types of tropes and tell, deeper character stories with those tropes so that everyone can relate. You don't have to be a genre fan or a comic book fan. You just have to like good story,
Yeah, and a lot of the indie stories, it's there's still plenty of superhero stuff in indie comics, but a lot of this stuff is old school, like you said, westerns, horror with the monsters, in this case with you, the samurai story, and people can get into this because it's only 3 issues. it's very well obtainable depending, whatever tier you want to get. You want to get the physicals, you just want to get the PDFs and read it. It's up to how they like to read their comics too.
Yeah.
I understand not everybody has a 2,400 square foot loft like I do. and can accept delivery of a 22-foot trailer with all their crap in it. But hopefully I'll be getting rid of a lot of my crap soon. But, you understand people that, live in like larger cities, they tend to have very small apartments at very high rent prices. So they're more likely to, if they're going to get into comics, to read them digitally, because they just don't have the room for them. They might collect maybe one series that's physical copy, something that they might have been collecting since they were a kid. But, other than that, I'm not a fan of digital because I like to hold the books in my hand. But like I said during the pre-show, we get, I do like 5-minute reviews for Outright Geekery and my YouTube channel. So I get stuff from publishers all the time, and they send over, watermarked review copies, and so we got to read them, digitally. I'd rather read them on my new tablet that's coming in. When I ordered it, they said it would be here Saturday morning, and then when they updated me, it said, "Well, it might be there Monday." I'm like, "Thank you, USPS."
Yeah, I do overall prefer physical comics too. That being said, though, the Comixology, the panel by panel thing they do for their phones, man, that really lasers in and focuses the pacing of the story. Like it is a slightly different experience reading that. At least with Grimwood, I went through and read one of my older books on there on Comixology, and like, man, I really liked not being able to see the other panels. I really liked it, and that's another reason why newcomers have a hard time in comics, is because they feel daunted by knowing what bubble to read next, what panel to read next. Obviously, Comixology just does that for you.
Yeah. When I first had the DC app, they had updated their reader thing, and it was weird because you could have them like automatically flip the pages, but then you'd have to keep clicking the back arrow if it was like a page with like a lot of dialogue. You'd be like, you'd be like 3/4 of the way through. It's like, bling! I'm like, no. But a lot of I got a smaller phone, so a lot of times if I'm like trying to read something on there, I'm like, whoop, whoop, I'm blowing it up, because I'm old and stuff. I'm nearsighted, so I got to take my glasses off to read. So it's weird, but
when it comes to like digital books, digital comics, or even like audiobooks too, like I have a hard time focusing. A lot of times, like I can't really focus unless it's again, like I do read some digital comics, but a lot of times I can't focus unless it's in my hand and like not on my phone.
Yeah, you pay more attention to it because you're holding it.
Yeah,
and you're like, hey, you don't want to drop it and ruin the book.
Hand. Yeah, here's this world in my hand instead of a file on my phone type of thing.
I think what a lot of people should do too, because I'm a big fan of CLZ.
Or the digital comic format?
No. CLZ is an app that lets you catalog all your books.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like older books, you have to you can just type the name in, and then you pick which series it is, and then you can. And it's got like all the different covers that they have for that book and everything else. I think indie fans should start uploading books, like when they get this book in, when they get Swords of Solace in, they can take a picture, upload it, and then put in like all the information for the book, and it gets cataloged. So if somebody else goes and types the name of the book in, it will come up on the CLZ app.
Oh, very cool. Maybe I'll do that.
And the really cool thing that CLZ they just did an update, and part of the update is now you can hit a tab on it because it starts and it shows you like all the books. It'll start listing all the books. You got to scroll down to see them all, but it'll tell you like how many books you have entered on the app. But you can hit another tab when you're looking at a certain volume. Say you're like looking at your Avengers collection, you can hit another tab and it'll tell you all the issues you're missing.
Oh, wow.
You know, so for when people are allowed to go back into comic shops and back into conventions, they can hit that tab as they're like scrolling through, so they know. I can't tell you how many times I bought like the same issue, like, you know, 3 or 4 times. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I had that one, but it's in a dollar bin, so I don't want to pass it up. So you buy it again. I'm like,
yeah, if you like, and it's like you take like a year off from a series, and like you go back to like buy the issues you missed from that year, and you're in the shop and don't remember what issue you stopped on. You know, like that's happened to me. I have like a couple double issues of Walking Dead because of that.
Yeah, I actually just found that I had one of the convention specials, special limited covers of Walking Dead #1. I didn't even know I had it.
Wow, you have a Walking Dead #1?
It's a reprint. It's like it's like a Comic-Con exclusive reprint.
Yeah, I have like I thought you were talking about you had like a first printing. I was like, wow, that's like $10,000.
Now, dude, if I had a first printing, I'd be like, selling it right now in a live auction and buying a lot of beer and pizza.
Well, one of my biggest inspirations as a comic book creator is when I bought it was a reprinting color edition of Walking Dead #1. Mm-hmm. Now, I think in the past couple of years they got another colorist to do another color pass on it and do another color reprinting. But the first color reprinting was like the, I think it was like the 5th anniversary or the 10th anniversary of the series. Yeah, because I think it came out like 2013, and it had the whole first issue in color, but also in the back it had the original pitch, the original Walking Dead pitch that Robert Kirkman sent to Image Comics.
Wow.
Yeah, and that helped big time. That was a big inspiration to see, like, how my favorite series started. Well, favorite at the time. It's not my favorite series now, but it was my favorite at the time. In 2013, it was.
A few years back, it was my favorite. I bought the entire run of trades on that for like $25.
Oh, that's a great deal. I was reading them. I've been reading them digitally since I was a kid. My friend brought like the 3rd issue to school, like, and it was like gory as hell, and it was awesome. I loved it. And it was back when what was the original artist? Tony Moore. Back when Tony Moore was still on it, and I was like, oh my gosh! And so like I went home on the family computer, and like my brother taught me how to. Just for the record, I don't condone piracy. I have since bought all the Walking Dead comics many times over, but I went and like every month would go and pirate the new issue of Walking Dead. I I was a kid. I lived in the middle of the woods. There's no comic book. There's one comic book store in Anchorage, and that was 2 hours away from where I lived. And well, anyway, and so I've been reading them for a long time, and then I started once I graduated high school and moved to Anchorage and was able to get to a comic book shop. I started collecting the issues from there. So I have like the last like, man, what was it? I think I have like the last like 75 issues, and then I have like the compendiums up before that. So I do have the whole series, but just in different formats.
Yeah, I think I bought like the big heavy compendium, but I'm like, dude, I can't lift that thing to read it. My arms are gonna be like falling off holding it up.
Dude, those giant like 3-4 inch thick compendiums, I don't know why. Best way to read comics. Having this big ass tome laid out on a table in front of you, I don't know why. Best way to read comics. I love ElfQuest with my entire heart and soul. And that's how I read them, with the big giant Dark Horse reprintings of the black and white giant ElfQuest compendiums. Love those books, man.
I'm just trying to balance this box so it doesn't fall. Since we're talking about big giant black
and obviously, like Grim Crossing is only 200 pages, so it's only about like an inch thick. But like that's why I was so excited to like put together that omnibus and put some. Oh, what's that?
Bone.
Oh wow, nice. Was that Jeff Smith? What's his name?
Yep, Jeff Smith.
Damn.
This thing was $40 when it came out. This is probably like one of the first editions. I bought the soft cover because the soft cover was $39, like $39.95, so it was $40.
But I don't like hardcover comics.
I do.
Yeah. I don't know why. To me, I just don't like that.
All black and white, just the way you like them.
Yep.
They went to Image for a certain amount of time, and I guess they insisted that he color them. He has the issues colored because they wanted to sell more, so they started coloring from, I think, like number 1. But I'm like, I probably have them somewhere. I've got all the damn action figures from his line too, which is crazy.
Man, speaking of those compendiums, like, so you've read Walking Dead, right?
Oh yeah.
Did you notice on the first compendium, like Rick doesn't get his hand cut off until like halfway through compendium 1, which is a lot of comic to read, and it was like issue like 30 when he got his hand cut off, or 40 or something. And they have him with one hand on the cover. And not only is he with one hand on the cover, his stub of a hand is dead center. And I was like, man, what a freaking spoiler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, by the way.
But yeah, who puts one of the most shocking moments, in my opinion, one of the most shocking moments in like non-superhero comics history, like, and puts it right on the cover. And like the show, then he never got his hand cut off in the show, so it's like it's a twist that is still intact for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's sometimes they're just like, like, whoa, we're gonna put the spoiler on the cover to draw more people in.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Don't do that. Put something on the cover that leads up to that spoiler.
Yeah, that's another thing. I really don't like the Walking Dead compendium covers either, because it's just like all the characters of that star in that specific compendium just lined up, and then it has like their zombie versions like reflecting under them, and like it is cool. It's a cool concept, but the zombie versions are always like kind of hard to see. You don't even notice them really that much at first. Plus they're upside down, so like your eyes just go straight to this like lineup of regular people that unless you've already read it, you don't get two shits about.
Yeah, and a lot of people are just like, oh, it's just their reflections, and and they pass by it without even thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. But the Walking Dead and ElfQuest are like also why The Last Man, but Walking Dead and ElfQuest are like why I like my comics black and white. I know you can get ElfQuest in color, but I truly think that's the inferior way to read it.
Yeah, it's better. That whole series is better in black and white.
Yeah, I find the color to be too like psychedelic and rainbowy, you know what I mean? And not like subtle enough.
Yeah, like I like my Conan stuff in black and white too. I prefer the old Conan magazine over the actual books.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna finish looking at everything everybody can get for Swords and Solace. Like I said before, we went off on a on a dead subject. The sketchbook is, you just place $15 or more and you can get the sketchbook. Plus, of course, the digital edition comes with all of them, especially if all you do is order the digital edition. And speaking of which, here's the digital Ultimate Fan Bundle. For $18 or more, you can get the digital version of all 3 books of the Rat, and you will get the Grimwood Crossing Omnibus digital. That's a good deal.
Oh, yeah.
$25 or more, you can get the physical trilogy. So you'll get all 3 books from this series, the PDFs and the physical copies. And sketchbook edition trilogy, so you can get all 3 sketchbooks, and of course you get the digital copies with everything. $35, not too shabby. Your prices are fairly low and like super reasonable. I've seen some projects where they're charging like $20-$25, for their like 32-page book alone.
Yeah, like I said, like I like to think about my comics being good for being someone's first comic, and like I don't want to sour them to the idea of reading comics by, paying like, almost 50 cents or $1 a page, I like to, if people are okay with spending more, I like to give them that option in other ways. So, if someone, is okay with getting more of an experience for a little bit more money, that's what the sketchbook is there for. They get to look at all the behind the scenes stuff. Also, the sketchbooks, I forgot to say, aren't floppy saddle stitched either. The regular comics are saddle stitch floppy comics, but the sketchbooks are actually like mini trade paperbacks because they have so much more content in them.
Yeah, they're a little more than double sized of the regular issue.
Yeah, you get the script, plus you get the entire comic again in penciled form, plus you get all the extra sketches from his sketchbook. So lots of fun. And it's not just sketches. I take some of his good art from or like some of my favorite art from his DeviantArt sometimes and put it on there.
Be like, I like this one. Let's put Batman riding the toilet on the front cover.
Yeah.
Pledge of $50 or more. That's the Ultimate Fan Bundle. You get everything. You're gonna get the Grimwood Crossing Omnibus, Swords of Sorrow, Swords of Silence, and Swords of Solace, plus digital copies of all of those for $50. And for $150, you can get a custom art illustration.
And for $15 plus shipping, there's an add-on. Kickstarter has a added add-on functionality to the website, and I got to be part of that program, which was exciting. I had to send them a request and be like, "Hey, I'm a legit creator. Let me, test this new Kickstarter feature for you." So so I'm one of the tester campaigns. There's probably a bunch of them, but one of the test campaigns for the add-on functionality, and you can get $15 plus shipping is a art print bundle that gets you like 3 11x17 art prints. Yeah, that's the art commission thing. We don't have if you want to go to the updates, or if you can just keep looking at the art here, yeah.
Yeah, because this is just awesome.
Yeah, those are for the custom commissions.
Reminds me of that joke because I see GOT in the middle there. So
yeah.
Where do you send your side chick when your wife comes home? The Hodor. And here's some sample pages. This stuff is like incredible. It looks good here, but it looks 10 times better in person.
Yeah, those are from the first 2 books. And this is from the new book.
You get a more of a gritty feeling when you're like looking at them in person. Hey, it's you and Adigan.
Yeah.
Hey, it's you without a hat.
Yeah. Oh man, you don't want to see my COVID hair.
No, I know. There's Chuck.
Yeah, his big beautiful face.
And we'll go take a look at updates.
Yeah, click on that. And then these are the art prints right here.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a splash page from issue 2, but colored. And then if you go down, the next art.
The blood's colored, but
yeah,
this one's colored.
And then the last art print is the cover.
That's the main cover of the book.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that is the whole Kickstarter. You want to head over to the Kickstarter, check it out for yourself. Watch the video of Connor being uncomfortable in front of the camera, not knowing what to say, and and seeing more pages. You get to see his COVID hair too. There it is. And I remember when I used to have hair. My hair used to be dark red, and now it's gray, and there's not a lot of it, so I just keep shaving it off.
It's all right, man. I can't even grow a full beard yet. I'm still getting gray hairs in it.
Can't grow a beard yet. Well, that's because you look like you're 17 all the time.
Yeah, I guess it's better than looking like my actual age.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I probably look 100 now because when I was 15, I looked old. I looked like I was in my mid-20s. So every time one of my friends was having a party, they would like, "You coming?" "No, my car's not working." "We'll be right over to pick you up," because I was the only one old enough to get served. Be like, okay, we scrambled up $200. Go in the store and come back with stuff. I'm like, okay.
We don't condone underage drinking.
No, we do not. Especially if my daughter's listening. I will follow that up with the saying that she hates the most. Well, one of the sayings she hates from me the most. I brought you into this world and I'll take you out.
My mother says that to me all the time.
But I myself am looking forward to read the third issue of this. I've loved it so far. It's a great book. You've done a great job on it, and people should really check this out because it's just an amazing book.
Thank you. Yeah, we hope everyone enjoys it.
I mean,
yeah.
There's the first two sketchbooks right there.
Heck yeah.
You know, I dug them out so I could show my props off, you know, like.
I don't have any props except these fake books.
That's okay. I don't have fake. I just have boxes. I just have boxes behind me. I just have boxes and toys and stuff behind me. So
that's the fun stuff.
You know, covered like everywhere.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck, man.
I wish you the best of luck.
Hope the missus is feeling all right.
Yes, sir.
So we got 22 days left on this.
Yes, we do. Hoping to break past 4,000.
Yep, there's already 107 backers. Very close to goal. I urge you to get in there. These books are like super reasonably priced, and if you got anything left from that $600 stimulus check, and you haven't jumped on for any of these books yet, $50, you can get the whole thing, plus the omnibus of Connor and Adigan's first series.
Yes, Grimwood Crossing.
There we go. So thanks very much for taking some time out and coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
People need to get on this book. Always a pleasure. And hey, stay warm.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget, everybody, this will be available for audio download on ageradio.org. Just look for Creators Outlet. And if you're listening to this on Age of Radio, make sure you search out Creators Outlet on YouTube. That way you can look at all the stuff we were looking at that you can't see because you're just listening to the audio. But thank you for downloading anyway. And this will also be up on the NSC Roadshow a little later on today as well. So thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend. We'll see